Did you know that there are certain foods that you should not be consuming if you have Hashimoto's thyroiditis, low thyroid, due to that autoimmune condition? Well, I'm going to go through 6 foods to avoid. Ideally, if you can do it, it's going to go a long way to really help your thyroid. Okay, let's start with number 6 on my list to avoid is refined oils. And we're talking canola oil, the seed oils. When they're highly refined, they have lost a lot of their inherent nutrition, but at the same time can be very pro-inflammatory. A lot of chemicals are often added in that refining process, and inflammation is not something that you want to increase when you have an autoimmune condition like Hashimoto's. Okay, number 5 on my list is caffeine. Caffeine, unfortunately, is very dehydrating if you're drinking too much of it or eating too much of it, and it's something that you definitely don't want to dehydrate your system more when you have Hashimoto's and low thyroid. Number 4 on my list is refined sugar. Again, all of that good nutrition is usually removed in that processing and that refining process of that natural sugar, which once was natural, but now it's refined. So avoiding this, again, is going to help with your blood glucose levels. Spiking your insulin is not a great thing when you have chronic autoimmune conditions, and usually that stems from a leptin problem with leptin resistance, and that's when you can then translate that into insulin problems, and of course that is going to translate into a slower metabolism with your thyroid implicated here as well. So watching those refined sugars, eliminating them if you can, is going to go a long way to help with your low thyroid. Okay, let's continue on. Can you guess what number 1 is on my list? Let's go to number 3 first, though. Okay, number 3 is packaged food. Again, loaded with a lot of chemicals most times, even if they're the healthier types of organic foods. Often they use chemicals in terms of preservation and in that packaging process and to refine some of the ingredients in packaged foods. And we know that some of those chemicals can actually be related to leaky gut syndrome and opening up those tight junctions in the gut. And that's not a good thing because we know that there's definitely a link with leaky gut and autoimmunity and, of course, Hashimoto's. Okay, number 2 on my list is dairy products. And I'm not talking about, if you have your own dairy farm and you are drinking raw dairy that has not been processed at all, that's very different. But most of the dairy that we consume, even in, most parts of the world, it has been highly processed and maybe there is a higher casein amount. And casein is one of the proteins in milk and dairy products that can make autoimmune conditions much worse. Okay, number 1 on my list, if you guessed it correctly, it is gluten. Now, gluten, definitely there is a link that has been established between Hashimoto's and, of course, autoimmunity and consuming gluten and having that gluten sensitivity. So if you can avoid that gluten, it will go a long way to actually help your thyroid, your gut as well, of course, and your overall longevity. Now, I do have other tips. If you do have a low thyroid, is not performing as it should be, I have other tips in another video. I want you to check it out. Tips to improve low thyroid. I'll see you there.